Good day, Internet. This is DTNS Live for Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. From Studio Animal House, I'm Sarah Lane.
From Studio 7-less in Los Angeles, I'm Tom Merritt.
From the Frog Pants Studios here in Salt Lake City, I'm Scott Johnson.
And I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
Daily Tech News Show Live is made possible by its listeners. Big thanks to all of you, including Jeffrey Zilks, Adam L., Tony Glass, and Michael Engel. Yay! So I made it into like a fan chant, like you're at Coachella.
Yeah, I like it.
I feel like I'm there right now. Welcome to DTNS Live, everybody. This is the show where we discuss the tech news to help us all understand it a little bit better as we go through it together. Now, Tom, you said you're at the 7-less studio. What's going on there?
Yeah, because he's not in residence at the moment. He's out on a big hike today with a bunch of other dogs.
You didn't get rid of your dog.
No, it's not quite that. It's
so
not
he's
a
on a
permanent
field
situation. Yeah, he's not in the house at the moment. So yeah,
Otis,
he's out hiking Griffith Park, as a matter of fact.
Oh, very nice.
Fun. I wish I was doing that with 7. That sounds really fun. Otis had a similar day yesterday as we were doing the show. He just needed to get out and about. Went to the beach
without you?
Without me.
He's like,
no, I wasn't
Mom,
there.
I gotta go. I'll see you later.
Yeah, he just took a Waymo. It's weird, but whatever.
No, I guess theoretically that could happen. I'm not sure how he'd get out of the Waymo, but
I don't know. Yeah, let's not.
Could you deliver your dog to someone by
You're
Waymo?
not supposed to have a dog in the Waymo at all.
I know.
I did it once.
Yeah.
I didn't get in trouble.
You didn't get busted?
No, but it was also like my first Waymo ever. I feel like they're probably like,
theoretically
you
could put Otis, not that you should, but theoretically you could put Otis in the Waymo, send it on its way, and then have someone at the other end ready to like, okay, here comes the Waymo, open the door and get Otis.
Kind of. I mean, it's precious cargo. I've done
Otis
that
is
in
over there
Waymos,
taking
or
notes
I've done
right
that
now,
in Ubers before, rather.
Yeah.
Which is weird because you'll see Otis in the front seat where it's not no one's supposed to be.
That would be the best. Yeah, put him in the front seat as if he's driving.
Love it.
Well, and in cars, he's very sort of like, he likes to, look around.
Oh, even better. It adds to the realism.
Can you imagine someone being like, that dog is driving?
Driving that car.
And it's such a better driver than the rest of people.
He's such a great driver.
Yeah, he really is. Scott Johnson, how are you?
Oh, just keeping it real, trying to keep it real. That's what I'm all about.
How do you do that?
It's hard actually in today's world because you never know what kind of what's real one day to the next. But I will tell you this. I am drawing so much on my iPad Pro these days that I'm trying. What I'm trying to do is make it so that I will never need another iPad Pro. I'll become so addicted to this one. That when they make new ones and they're 400 times more expensive, I won't have to get one. That's the goal.
Yeah, well, the tariffs got paused, though. Did y'all hear?
That's right. This is all kind of late breaking because by the time
Yeah.
I finished TMS, they were all still in full effect. So I guess this is sort of new news.
Some of them got paused. Not the China one. Not some of them.
No, that one, very different.
All right.
Keep digging channels into the screen of your iPad.
All right, I will. It's going to be well used.
While you do that, Scott, let's get into the news, starting with the quick hits.
This first one's going to sound tariff related at first, but it's not. Nikkei Asia reports that Nintendo is postponing the Switch 2 release in China because of restrictions on video game releases there. This has nothing to do with tariffs. Nintendo shut down its eShop for the Switch in China on March 31st, and Nintendo is planning to launch the Switch 2 elsewhere on June 5th, but mainland China is not included among the initial markets.
At its cloud event on Wednesday, Google unveiled Ironwood. This is the 7th gen Tensor processing unit optimized specifically for AI inference. I knew I was going to get that wrong. Inference. It has 4,614 T-flops of peak performance and 192 gigabytes of RAM per chip, designed for efficiency, speed, and obviously scale. Google Cloud customers get it later this year in 2 cluster sizes and can integrate with Google's AI hypercomputer.
Google also introduced agents at Cloud Next that it calls Workspace Flows. They can streamline multi-step processes like customer support, policy reviews, without needing code. You just tell it what you want it to do. New audio summaries and writing suggestions are coming to Google Docs. Sheets gets data analysis help. Google Meet gets meeting recaps. Chat gets conversation summaries, and online editor vids, which some of you may have forgotten existed, gets generated video clips. Users also now have more control over where Gemini processes their data. That can help you comply with regulations like Europe's GDPR.
New data from Canalys shows that global PC shipments grew 9.4% in Q1 of this year, likely driven by manufacturers rushing orders to the U.S. ahead of new tariffs, at least in part. But future growth may be at risk as higher costs could dampen consumer and small and medium business demand, especially with Windows 10 support ending in October. A lot of moving parts here. Major OEMs like HP and Lenovo are shifting production out of China to reduce tariff impact.
Now, the only problem with that story is it wasn't about agents. So let's get back to agents. Adobe has added agents to Photoshop, which will get an action panel for one-click context-aware edits. Premiere Pro will get agents to help editing workflows like rough cuts and color grading, and Acrobat can now support customizable agents for roles like tutors or sales assistants. Adobe Express will now include creative partners to help users build content more intuitively. Now back to non-agent news.
Reuters sources say that TSMC may face a $1 billion or more fine over allegations that its chips were used by Huawei's Ascend 910B processor, which would potentially violate U.S. export controls. The chips were reportedly funneled through Chinese firm Sopico. TSMC denies knowing that it supplied Huawei with anything and said that it has been cooperating with the U.S. authorities since 2020. All right, when's the last time all of you watched The Wizard of Oz?
Oh, man.
I know. This seems a little left field.
2 or 3
stick
years
with
ago,
me.
I think.
Yeah, about that. Yeah, about 3 years.
Yeah? Roger, what about you?
I've just I would say 15 years ago, unless you count the Wicked, like clips of.
No. We're talking about the movie
we're talking
from
the
the
1939
30s,
Judy
15
Garland
years
Wizard
ago.
of Oz.
15 years ago.
Okay.
All right. So here's where I'm going with this. Google and Sphere Entertainment in Las Vegas say that they used AI to enhance the Wizard of Oz, the original Wizard of Oz movie from 1939, for the Las Vegas Sphere's big old 160,000 square foot screen, with more than 90% of the film being modified in some way by AI. Google says it used Gemini, VO2, and Imagen 3 to upscale resolution, extend some backgrounds, and then recreate characters in certain scenes where they were known to be there, but they weren't actually there in the original shot. Some materials provided by Warner Brothers also helped train the models. The new exhibit debuts in the Sphere on August 28th. Now, Tom and Scott, I know you've both been to the Sphere together.
We sat right next to each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
Held
yes. You held hands, which is really nice.
Yeah,
very
we're friends.
Wizard of Oz of you.
We're friends. Yeah.
But
Followed the yellow brick road.
It's funny. I know that I have this. I have maybe when I'm on Wednesdays, I have the biggest tendency to bristle at AI, especially AI art generation, generative imagery, video, that sort of thing. Really crawls up my skin. I don't like it for the most part. But people may be surprised about my take on this. I actually think this is totally fine. And there's a couple of reasons. One, the rights holders don't care. In fact, they're helping them do it. But number two, when back in the day, if you wanted to bring something to the home screen, think of this in a reverse way. And you said, well, this was a giant 70 millimeter film experience, but you're on a little 4x3, 480p maximum resolution television at home on your old CRT. We're going to either put bars on that, or we're going to give you the option to go full screen, which means the sides are getting cut off. Now, you might say, well, Scott, that's not AI. I know it isn't. But that's alteration of content to fit the presentation medium. And this is just that. It's a massive one. It's a huge sphere that needs all sorts of fill-in and all sorts of upscaling to make that even work close to what they need. But it's really the same principle. You are altering the content with tools that we have, with the blessing of the rights holder, to make it available in this format, in this way. And I see zero wrong with it. I think it's good.
When I first read the story, I was like, look what they did to Star Wars. Which, maybe you'd like the enhanced version of A New Hope. But I think there are a lot of us, and Scott, I'm with you on this, just let it be. Just let it be. It's a wonderful movie. It is what it is. That all works. However, you think of the Sphere. This is not going to the movie theater. I mean, I don't know if anyone's playing The Wizard of Oz in movie theaters these days, but
they do actually. I think it's like a Fathom Events thing.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
I mean, because it's so beloved. As a kid, we had illegally ripped it off of a VHS tape in my house, so I ended up watching The Wizard of Oz like every day after school.
You made a fair use backup of a copy.
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah. We're not criminals here.
Right.
But I've seen this movie like a million times. I know exactly what this movie is. And the idea that, so just to give you an example, the Wall Street Journal reports that in an early scene, this is before the tornado, Dorothy is talking to Aunt Em and Miss Gulch. I'm not spoiling anything because, again, this is 1939. If you haven't seen the movie, I don't know. But the whole idea is that, they're talking about, whether Toto should be destroyed for biting Miss Gulch. And Uncle Henry is in the room, and he is because you saw him earlier, but he's not in the shot.
Right.
And now he'll be in the shot. Now, this is not something that I feel like, oh, wow, they're like really changing the narrative here. I actually think this is cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tom, you're usually pretty level-headed on this stuff. Are you surprised that I'm
Not today,
I'm not
Scott.
losing my mind, or do you hate this? Are you really upset?
I feel like now I should lose my mind about it, but I'm not. This is one of those things where, to me, it's not what they're doing; it's how they do it. Right. So I'd have to see it to say for sure.
Right.
Because there's a way they could do it where you're like, whoa, they changed some stuff they didn't need to change, and this is not enjoyable. Right. If it's very limited, it could be too limited. You might watch it and go like, I thought this was going to be improved for the Sphere, but it was really just, Uncle Henry messing about with the dishes in the background, and it wasn't even very well done. He was all herky-jerky and everything else was smooth. Again, I just don't know until I see it, but I can imagine a way where this is done perfectly well, where you're adapting it so that it works better on that big curved screen inside the Sphere. You upgrade the resolution. That's probably, when they say they did 90% of it, most of that is probably improving resolution, smoothing out motion, that sort of thing. Maybe just extending the scene. So when you look to your left, you're not seeing black. You're seeing, an extended version of the landscape, but it's not important. So it really doesn't matter what it looks like. It's just to fill out the stuff. I think that would be fine. I also think it would be fine if they wanted to attempt to use Gemini to totally redo the movie and create something new with it, because this is old. It should be in the public domain. And people have, Marcel Duchamp and Salvador Dali have messed with the Mona Lisa. That doesn't reduce the value of the original Mona Lisa. So, at a certain point, stuff's old enough, and I think this should be old enough at 1939, that you should just be able to mess with it. And it's up to us as viewers and consumers to decide whether we like what you did with it or not. It doesn't even sound like they're coming close to doing that in this case. So I think this is perfectly fine.
Yeah, I'm with you. I hadn't even thought about this, but what I would want to slap down $100 for, which is close to what you pay to go to the Sphere.
Yeah,
70 something when we went. We got
that might be my bigger problem, is how much it's costing.
It's very expensive. But if you're going to go, I kind of don't want to see the same movie. I mean, neat. It's huge. Okay, cool.
You want to
but
feel like
I would love to see something weird,
something different and cool.
Yeah, do something weird and avant-garde with it. There's a reason when you went to Laser Floyd, you didn't go just see Pink Floyd videos. You went to see this crazy laser show with Pink Floyd music and something new and different. The Sphere is that. It is the ultimate expression of a ridiculous viewing experience. So take advantage of it. The concerts there do. Why wouldn't your movie do that? I don't think this is going to do that. I don't think they're planning anything too crazy because they're trying to stick to the original. So if anything, I'm saying go crazy a little bit instead of being so conservative about it. Yeah.
I would add, as long as they explain that what they've done and don't try to pass it off as something that it's not, I don't see any issue with it. If they were purporting,
I feel like they're doing that right now.
Yeah, and
they're
that's
saying
what
like,
I'm saying.
hey, here's
exactly but if they said, hey, we didn't do any, this is the original, blah blah blah, whatever it is.
Is there any indication that people do that?
No.
Is that a concern?
Well, as long as no, I mean, I would have a concern if someone, even if they didn't and they just had people assume. I think just being a little upfront about it is
yeah, and they're being very upfront of it. So in this case, I guess what you're saying is if people were to do this more often,
or if they did it
won't
with
try
something else and they they just explain what you did.
Yeah.
They did. They absolutely did.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. This is fine, but like in any instance of you either altering any kind of content in order to
I feel like
adapt
that's a second topic. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to The Wizard of Oz, which is, a beloved movie, but also weird. It's a weird movie. It's
pretty weird.
Which is why, children and adults alike love the movie. It's to say like, that when Dorothy picks the apple off the tree and the trees are mad at her, like, what if there was like yet another tree in the background kind of thing, just to like really prove the point that the trees did not want people to pick their apples type of thing. That wouldn't change the movie.
No, somewhere somebody's stoked about this being careful with it, and I think that's fine for them. But if you want my $80 or whatever it is, tell me you're working with George Miller and his vision for what that would look like. Or for that matter, just do Fury Road and Furiosa back to back in that place on that giant screen and I'd go. Like, it doesn't matter to me.
Furiosa of Oz.
Yeah, sure. The
Wizard
driving down
the
Wizard
Great
of Road.
and wonderful Furiosa.
Yeah.
Of
I mean,
Oz.
it takes place in Australia anyway, so it works. Oz.
I'd do that in a heartbeat. But that's the thing, is you just want to, maybe this is enough. Maybe this is going to draw a huge crowd. It just seems like you got to, when Tom said do something new with it, that really sparked my interest more, because I
kind of wonder about that, because it's like, okay, I'm probably part of like the last part of a generation of kids who still really like that movie. Now it's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know any 5-year-old who's like, Wizard of Oz, best movie ever. But maybe that's not what the Sphere is going for.
Yeah. Be hard to find any kids that are way into this 30s movie. There's no way.
Yeah, this is probably a play for older audiences to be like, come experience the classic in a way you never
older
thought
people do like
possible.
Vegas.
And they like spending
more
their
financially
$100.
secure audience members.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. If you're annoyed by people who type something like PLZ instead of please, PLEASE all the time, good news. Science says you're in the majority. Tom, tell us more.
Yes, David Fang has a story on theconversation.com. He is a PhD student in marketing at Stanford. They did multiple studies. The first one looked at 1,170 participants between the ages of 15 and 80 with one of two near identical text exchanges. One of the text exchanges was sprinkled with those kinds of abbreviations like PLZ, THX, GTFO. The other had everything fully spelled out. And the participants in that study rated the abbreviating sender as less sincere and less worthy of a reply. That effect held across all levels of relationships, whether they were told that this person was a stranger or a close friend, they felt the same. So these guys didn't stop. They said, okay, but let's go to a young crowd in real life. Maybe it's a test lab situation. They went to Discord and messaged random users asking them to recommend TV shows to watch. One set of messages fully spelled out what they were asking. Yeah. The other filled it with abbreviations, and fewer people responded to the abbreviated requests than to the fully spelled out requests. So finally, they thought, well, what if love is in the equation? They studied participants in a private message portal engaged in speed dating on Valentine's Day, and recipients of abbreviated messages were more reluctant to share contact info than those who got fully spelled out messages. They also went and did a metadata study of Tinder conversations where the conversations had been voluntarily given to be studied, and showed that messages with abbreviations received fewer overall responses. So science says if you're writing PLZ, if you're writing LOL, if you're writing OMG all the time, that your messages are going to be considered to be kind of a brush off, kind of an insincere way of talking.
It's starting to happen to me. Yeah. I'm having it happen in my life where people are saying, are you okay? And I'm like, why? Well, because you said KK at the end. And to me, that just means to me that means we're good.
And do you
That means
respond,
okay.
WTF?
Yeah. And they said, well, that just sounds like you're just brushing it off. Or I can't remember what the exact reply to me was. And I'm like, oh, no. I'm just actually just saying it's great. It's okay. Everything's good. And I realized, because I've been hearing about this prior to today's discussion, so I'm really glad we're talking about it, because I felt like I was going crazy. I'm like, I thought we were all in the same page with this. We're all shortening things to get done quicker. Here's an emoji to tell you how I feel. You know,
you just hit the nail on the head, though. To get it done quicker. If it's truly sincere, you would take the time and the extra thumb motions to spell out the word.
I don't think PLZ is really saving you time over PLEASE.
No, but you know,
I think it's more of it's a familiarity thing. If Scott and I are texting, and I am, OMG, PLZ, lol, KK, like he knows that I'm just, you're working, it's fine. I know what you mean. But if you don't know me, you might feel like it's flippant.
I don't know.
Apparently, it doesn't matter according to the study whether you know you or
that.
not. But yeah.
I've
part of it.
I have good friends who occasionally do that. It's like, I asked them a very important question, like, hey, what do you want to do with blah, blah, blah stuff, like maybe after a breakup or something, and just like, I don't know, or whatever, or you just, you do like a shorthand, something. It doesn't seem that they're very much in mind of the conversation. It was more of like, I need to respond. This is the quickest thing I can think of. I'm going to move on to something else.
Well, I think sometimes like the emoji responses can trigger me in the same way, where I'm like, thumbs up. Oh, okay. I mean,
thumbs
are you
up is an interesting one.
Thumbs
it has gone from like
what I said
to like
because you like it, or because you're like, okay.
Yeah, like
well, I had to go
the
to the
Jennifer
emergency
Lawrence
room.
thumbs up.
Thumbs
The
up.
Jennifer Lawrence thumbs up is not a good thumbs up.
Think about that.
Yeah.
like,
so my kids, I have Gen Z kids, one of them, and he told me outright. He says, Dad, when you just say okay at the end of a thing, and that to me is the most innocuous one. We've been saying okay long before the internet. And if I put just okay, he says his whole he speaks for his generation. He says all of them think it's dismissive and tired, and I don't really care, and it's not important. They all
right
word.
Like it kind of is like weird flex, but okay.
What am I supposed to say? Like, that sounds great! Exclamation point.
I say this as
Which
someone
you
who
could.
occasionally says okay to things. Like back when I used to work in the office, like someone would message something, it's like, okay. Like, I saw it, and I'll get to it when I get to it. But it is sort of dismissive because that's my attitude at the time.
Well, we've been dealing with this for 30 years, but written text is read in the most negative possible connotation. And that is why email tone is so hard to get right for people. And everyone reads okay as like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, that is how even though you mean it as like, okay, like everyone reads it as like, okay.
It even gets more granular, like if you say okay, or if you say okay, period.
Oh, the period.
Then it's like, okay, Tom's mad
that's
at me.
aggressive. Yeah.
That's so weird. It's so weird
Even
to me.
if that's not your intention, it's like it gets picked up that way.
At least in my life, it's been a thing for the past 15 years. Maybe because of my personality. I don't know. Probably not. But I will say that this has been a thing since instant messaging. Like, when people used to IM constantly back and forth saying like BRB. Okay, I get that. But if you don't do anything or you just say okay, it just sounds like you're trying to cut the
BRB is an
conversation
interesting one because what this study found, I think the most significant thing of this study is how universal it is. Like across relationships, across ages, across situations, everybody thinks it's dismissive. BRB is okay because BRB is dismissive. BRB is like, yeah, I can't talk right now. So it kind of fits. I feel like BRB is the one where you're like, oh, that's fine.
I'm
yes,
sincerely
busy.
not.
Like,
I can't engage with you.
It's not
Unless you
insincere
don't
in that
BRB.
case.
Yeah.
And then you should have said
wait
BBL.
to find.
You know what it just hit me, and I don't know how to prove this out, but there is a sizable portion of Gen Xer, elder millennial gamers who grew up on MMOs, and in MMOs, all this short language has an actual functional reason. You don't want to stop to type too much because you are busy doing things. Someone says, I got to go to the bathroom. They go, BioBreak BRB. Nobody gets offended that they use BRB or BB for BioBreak or any of these
context
shortenings.
is okay for that. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like
someone's
code
not gonna
for
be
the world we're
no,
in.
you shouldn't do that.
Exactly.
Like, we all
It's
have to do
code.
things like that.
It's code for the world you're in. Kind of like in Dune when they talk with their fingers, the Atreides family and everything. It's like that a little bit. It's shorthand in the right context. The problem is we have come out into the real world and continued to use it. I think that there's other generations who are maybe not as so much into that. They're playing Fortnite. I'm not saying this is all video game related, but this seems like there's a portion at least of this.
I think it's hardwired. I think we are just hardwired to look at abbreviations as, oh, you're in a rush and you don't care too much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Which is why BRB doesn't bother you, because you're like, oh, you are in a rush. You're saying I have to go.
I mean,
whereas
thank you for your
PLZ,
honesty.
JK, IDK, LOL, if that's all you're getting, suddenly it's like, yeah, they're not taking me seriously.
This is where LLM can really come in handy. Is like you have an obsequiousness filter, and you just do that shorthand. And
Maybe
then
we need LOLMs to call some of this.
Dang, man. Write that one down.
I do think that the dating
JK.
aspect of the study is extremely interesting because I'm the only non-married person on the show, so dating apps. I've made my way around a dating app here and there, and you definitely do get a sense of like, oh, you're not taking me seriously.
Yeah.
If somebody isn't like typing out a full sentence, but what do I care? Once I know them, if we end up like liking each other, even as friends, then I don't care. But it's sort of like the, put your best foot forward type thing.
Yeah, it's a speed bump on the way to getting to know somebody.
Yeah, because you're kind of like, oh, I don't. We're not at law yet, Mister.
No, no. Like any kind of, it's an intimate language thing. Like you have to get to a place where everybody gets each other enough to know that when you
And
say
then it's
LOL,
funny.
you mean it. Yeah, and then it's funny, or then it's meaningful, or even it's just plain informational. That when they say BRB or please PLZ, they're just saying please, and you don't have to try to interpret it further because you have this relationship with them already.
When you get into an intimate situation with someone else, you actually develop your own coded language along the way. There are phrases and words that I share with my wife that no one else would get.
Yeah, same.
But because
Of
we've been
course,
together for so
yeah.
long, it's just like, oh, I totally get it.
Yeah, I have things. When you and your wife, or when your wife talks to me, we have our own language. Just kidding. I was talking about my own wife. But no, you're right.
All
Like
right,
you
Scott.
have, you start
I'm not
to build.
offended at all.
You start to build these kinds of things. It's like friends you can rib and not worry about repercussions.
Yeah, it's like when I say I stole all your money, it's just, it's between friends.
JK. LOL.
Well, like, yeah, if I make a joke and someone's like LMAO, like 7 O's, was I really that funny? No, they're just being like, okay, Sarah. Okay.
And that's fine, right? In context, that's fine.
Because
but if
I know
all
them.
they're ever writing is that, you get the sense of like, oh, they're not taking me serious. They're not listening. They're just like dashing something off.
I think that's the nail on the head here is like this person isn't listening to me. So stuff like this tends to be, dismissive, even if it isn't.
It's the text communication equivalent of like, yeah, sure, yeah,
Yeah.
It's also platitudey if you don't know them. Like it
You
feels
mean
like
condescending.
platitudes. Well, yeah, I hate platitudes because they are condescending. I don't like when people say. I have a friend who served in the Army, and so he can't speak for everybody, but he can't stand it when people say "thank you for your service" because it's so, in his mind,
Empty.
so overused and
everybody
empty.
says it, so he's
'Cause
not
everyone
sure if
says it.
there's sincerity
Well,
behind
thank,
it.
Yeah, it's
thank
rote.
me
It
with the
becomes less
discount at the
sincere.
register.
Nobody likes a platypus.
Yeah, like
I do.
Especially except for the male
Sorry, I meant a
platypus is the one
platitude.
you want to avoid.
the
Save the
platitude.
platypi.
They got the poisonous spurs on the back legs.
That's
There
just
you
an
go.
empty platypus.
We had one of those in my biology class.
Well, folks, if you have feedback about that horrible joke or anything else that we've abbreviated on this show, please get in touch with us on the social networks and type in all abbreviations. We are at DTNS Show on X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Mastodon. If you're looking for us on TikTok or YouTube, you can find us at Daily Tech News Show.
Nintendo made a pretty big splash last week, highly anticipated when they shared details of the upcoming Switch 2 game console, but also raised a few eyebrows later when they announced prices for a new game. So Scott, what are you making of this?
Well, all right. So we're a week into the big announcement. This was highly anticipated, as you alluded to. It was a big deal. Finally happened last Wednesday. I can't believe it's already been a week. But Nintendo laid out all the details. Some of the things they didn't lay out were what are first-party games going to cost? Also, which first-party games are going to be available and when are they available? This sort of thing. So we always expect this a little bit. There's details roll out over the next few days after the announcement. Nintendo has other directs planned to even get deeper into things. But here's what we know for sure. The big game that will probably be the best-selling game for the console's entire generation of existence will probably be Mario Kart World. And the reason I say that is because we have some precedents for that. Mario Kart 8, the previous version of Mario Kart, was a massive hit on the even less than great selling Wii U, and then re-released and rebuffed and everything for the Switch. Easily their best-selling title of that entire run. That beats Zelda's, it beats all the other stuff. So no reason to expect it not to do that here. There are two versions of the console being offered when they do go up for pre-sale and sale. One is just the Switch, meaning just the device and no game. And there's also a bundle that will include Super Mario Kart World. By itself, they have announced that the game will cost you $80. We'll just stay with U.S. prices for now. It's going to fluctuate depending on where you are. But an $80 price tag, $79.99 for Mario Kart World. The previous level you would have paid for a game like that would have been, I think $59 is the current price for that game. They rarely go on sale, so it's easy to find out. But that's a pretty big jump in cost. There have been other attempts to do this kind of across the board. For a while there, $49, $59 was sort of, we've been stuck there since the 90s, really. Very weirdly inflation-proof, the software side of the games business. And for a long time, most of these publishers, platform holders, and developers have wanted to see if we can't push that price higher because it is getting more and more expensive to make big AAA titles. So it's not actually all that surprising. What's surprising is Nintendo just came out and flat out said, hey, we're basically a PlayStation 4 in terms of capability with this new device, and our games are going to be $80, all first-party stuff about $80. And nobody was quite expecting that. I think people expected maybe $69. And I know we're only talking $10 here, but I think that's what most people thought. Here's the thing. I think Nintendo is betting that you love their first-party titles so much that you're going to pay this new level of premium for them. And they're probably right. I think they are going to sell a crap ton of that game. They're also going to sell a lot of the console bundle that include that game for as long as it lasts, because doing it that way makes the game only about $50. So people are going to take advantage of that bundle. They're going to sell a ton of those. And I think that other platforms, specifically Sony and Microsoft, but not just them, publishers and so forth, are looking at this very carefully. Because if Nintendo is extremely profitable despite the increase, you're going to see this happen in other places. You're going to see Sony's games go for more, Microsoft's games go for more. Sony already kind of led that charge with the current generation with about a $10 tick across the board. So they're interested in this as well. It's interesting that the player backlash aside, what this does is it gives Nintendo a little bit of buffer too when it comes to these tariffs. Most of the Switch 2 hardware is being manufactured in China. Second to that, Japan, Taiwan. They've got stuff kind of everywhere. Vietnam. That may shift around where they ship from and where they, that's still a possibility. But I think they've kind of buffered a few things. One, the hardware is more expensive than usual from them. And I think that was a way for them to kind of, again, give them a little wiggle room, depending on where tariffs went. And I also think that the games themselves, same thing. They're giving themselves a little bit of a buffer. And there's nothing stopping them from having more discounts later on than they're used to, or dropping these prices at some point, or releasing new games at a lower price. They have some wiggle room there, but they want to see if that $80 will stick. I don't know if it's going to stick. I think the big winner here in the short term, this is my prediction, will be indie, will be AA titles, kind of your B-tier games that aren't necessarily the big splashy ones, but kind of the middle-of-the-road stuff that are in the more budget range, $29 to $39. And platforms like Steam, Good Old Games, some of these PC platforms, the Epic Game Store, they will benefit from being the places where there are really less expensive stuff you can get. That doesn't mean you can't go onto the eShop and whatever version the Switch 2 is going to have and find a $12 cool indie game here and another one there. Like, they're all going to be there too. But I think as far as like where the place where you get your big bombastic experiences, this is either going to hurt Nintendo a little bit and benefit these smaller platforms or these other platforms, or they're right and everyone's going to pay that premium. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if people are going to be... They say they're mad now, but you know how people get. They want to play Mario Kart. They'll spend the extra $20.
When adjusted for inflation, Atari's Adventure sold in 1977 for close to $100.
Yep.
So
there's a few like that.
That's the thing to keep in mind is video games have always, when adjusted for inflation, been above $80 usually. But we don't think of that because we're like, oh, Adventure costs $25 or whatever, right? It's only in the recent years that the price increases have slowed, especially with digital delivery. So I think that's why we're having such a huge reaction to $80, because we haven't had the consistent price increases in the past 10 years the way we did before.
I will also say that digital delivery has really altered the landscape in many cases because you can buy older games. Even whether you're talking about the PlayStation Store, the Xbox, Steam, or whatever, you get substantial discounts from publishers for games that were released maybe 3 years ago. For example, I can pick up most of the Star Wars, the recent releases, minus Outlaws, for at least 50%, if not greater, discount. So I can pick up like Jedi or Survivor for like $15 off at the time.
Yeah, it's a screaming deal.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able to get that from Nintendo.
The reason is because not many people want it.
Well, that's true.
Or
they want it, but they want
work.
it. Right. It's a long tail thing. You're absolutely right. Here's the thing with Nintendo where they do kind of have they're weird this way because nobody else quite does this. Sony to some degree, but nobody else really. That Mario Kart game will stay relevant and in the top 10 games being sold every week, and on all those numbers that are tracked, that will happen in the USA and Europe for the whole run of that console. The current Mario Kart is still in the top 10 games sold right now. Like right now, it's still selling that many. So they have this weird position. They're like the GTAs of kid-friendly consoles, where it is a guaranteed sale. And I've heard from not less than 3-4 of my friends who have said, I think this is bad news for how much GTA 6 is going to cost. And I said, what do you mean? He says, if Nintendo can get away with $80 for Mario Kart, I'll bet you that Take-Two and Rockstar can sell GTA 6 for $125.
Yeah.
And he may be right. And
the reason is because that's what you don't sell things based on how much they cost. How much they cost is the floor at which you lose money if you charge less than that.
Right.
What you sell things for is how much people will pay. Somebody in the chat said, yeah, but the games sell better now than ever. I'm like, yes, when things sell well, you raise the price until you get to the point that they don't increase sales anymore. And then that is the price that is right. That is the price that is demand. And what Nintendo's acknowledging here with $80 is people will pay that for this.
Mm-hmm.
So, it doesn't mean you have to be happy about it. If you're really unhappy, don't pay it unless you're like, man, but I really like Super Mario. I'll pay $80. Well, then that's what they should charge because that's what it's worth. That's the value of it to people.
Yeah. And give us 6 months. And if we suddenly hear a bunch of news that everything underperformed, well, then maybe they hedged too big of a bet. It's possible.
Yeah.
But
it rarely happens, but it
very rarely happens. It usually happens the other way. And we may not like it. Like Tom says, we don't have to like it. But either we have to not like it hard enough to organize boycotts or something. No one's going to do this for Mario Kart. They're just going to buy it. They're going to go, well, it's only $20.
Or they're not going to buy it.
Or they're not going to buy it.
Yeah.
But most of them will.
Nick with a C is like, they've priced me out at $80. And there will be other people like Nick with a C. Whether that will be enough to move the needle or not is a big question.
100%. I agree.
Well, after showing off Bally at CES in 2020, Samsung plans to finally roll out the home robot this summer. Kind of a cute little circular thing. Roger, what more can you tell us?
Yeah, so I always call it Bali, but Bali is a robot that's ball-shaped, as the name would suggest, and has 2 wheels and it rolls around. And it is designed to be a personal assistant for the home. Now, they recently announced a collaboration with Google Cloud to integrate Gemini into it, so it can have generative AI to help you with tasks. And it also has a built-in projector, speaker, and microphone to give you things, for example, you see on your screen right now, a map or messages or anything like that. But my broader question about this is that why do so many of these home robots that are coming to market always feel like they're looking for they're presenting this as a solution to a problem that people don't have, as opposed to say something like iRobot's Roomba, which is an automated vacuum, which everyone wants a vacuum that can vacuum the floor without you being involved.
I have one. I love it. It works great, but it doesn't do more than just the one thing. It's not like a companion.
And if you don't need that, you won't buy it. Whereas a multi-purpose thing, if they can make it work, more people will buy.
But like, as we've seen with the Amazon Astro, like, has it been working? I mean, like, I think part of it is that...
Or was Amazon Astro, as Amazon specifically said when they put it out, an experiment to find out what worked and what didn't? And that may be what's happening with Bali too, is like, let's put it out there and see what people use it for. It was a big part of the iPhone's initial success is they put it out there, found what people used it for, and then leaned into that. I think that's probably what's going on here is these companies aren't trying to say Bali will be the next best-selling gadget ever. They're saying, let's put this out here with these capabilities and see which ones catch on, because until we try it at scale, we won't really know.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say that because back in 2024 September, TechCrunch's Brian Heater wrote a piece called on robotics. Why do so many home robots still suck? And one of the key points that he honed in on was the lack of focus on a critical task that kind of makes it a compelling acquisition for.
But how do you know what that task is?
Well, that's. I mean, I guess that's could be the chicken or egg thing. But at the same time, you know, for what they were wanting for Astro, that's a big price point for an experiment.
The question, yes, but that big price point was meant to keep it from being a loser and still get enough of them out there where they could collect some data. I'd be curious if they collected any usable data from it and what they've decided. Appears to be what they decided was not to make another Astro, at least not yet. Which is fine. That is a legitimate finding of like, turns out people don't use it for anything, which would be interesting. Like, why is Samsung doing it then? If Samsung seems to think, there might still be some use for this. Maybe if we play into the projector, Astro didn't have a projector in it. Maybe there's more entertainment uses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also the LLMs, and certainly their use of Google reflects this, but they're in a place
Gemini,
now where, that stuff's going to actually have real conversations with you as much as AI assistants can. But you know what I mean? You're going to have a more rich back and forth than you would have prior, and that I think the Astro bot kind of came at the worst possible time because it was just before this stuff was happening, or just before we started to see these LLMs and these models happen. And they just I think they just shot all that too early. They should have probably waited till some of this settled out and then run their experiment. But this isn't really about Amazon, but I still think that could have helped them.
And I guess my second follow-on question is, like, is everyone thinking of robots in sort of the kind of the 80s future forward look of how robots would look in the home, rather than say like something that resembles more of a voice assistant with a projector that does all these things other than roll around following you?
Yeah. If the latter is the case, it's like my Echo Show. I mean, it's not a projector, but it's definitely a robot. I talk to it. I can do stuff with it. You know, it's mostly kind of grocery related, just because I have it in my kitchen. But you know, if that were to roll around and do other things, I don't hate the idea of this. I think that there are a few drawbacks. Is, you know, the first one is someone's like, well, it's gonna just be all over the place, like all over the house, depending on where you live. You know, are there stairs? You know, do you have a cramped apartment type thing? It's like this doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people. Maybe it does for some people, but to others, kind of like, I don't know. It just sounds like clutter. And then you have on the flip side, for example, at the beginning of the show, I said that my dog had been away with friends and family for most of the day yesterday because I was working. And, I kept looking around for him like, where is he? Gosh, because I'm so used to Otis being in the house with me. Now, Otis is not a robot and can't really do anything besides be cute.
Feels like you're protesting too much.
Right. Okay. But just that feeling, right? That feeling of like, oh, I wish I kind of had somebody else around. I wish I had the companion. I do think that is going to matter for a lot of people if you experience loss, for example, or, you're just in a situation where you can't get a pet or your friends aren't nearby, that kind of thing.
It's like the last time. Remember the times like when you lose your phone and you hit your pocket and you're like, dang it, where is it? And then you realize, oh, I've left it at home and I'm out somewhere. You're going to smack your pocket about 12 more times that night, whether you want to or not. You're going to have this habit because that thing has become that valuable to you. Maybe a little too much, but forgetting that for a minute, like we check it, we need it, we do it. It's part of our lives now in a meaningful way. The minute these robots feel like that, where like what you're describing, like, wait, where's Jimmy or whatever you name it? And you realize he's not here and you're like, oh shoot, he's charging, he's dead right now? Ah, crap. I don't know what it's going to take to get us there, what services it will provide.
Nobody knows. That's my point.
That's
Until
really
we have a few of these things out there and we start to go like, oh, this is the thing nobody could have predicted we would all want it for, we're not going to know what those things are.
Yep. Here's Roger's April 2025 prediction for the future in 10 years.
Write this down.
The one robot that everyone's going to want is a self-driving car that you could put stuff, your kids, anything in, have it drive to the destination without you being involved. And then coming back, whether it's groceries.
That's just saying self-driving cars are the future of robotics instead of home robots. That's not saying what the future of home robots is.
But
that's changing the topic is what that is.
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, like, but that's what I mean. It's like, I don't think there will be. I don't think everything described about what home robotics is. I don't think that's going to happen.
You're just saying you don't believe home robotics is useful.
No, I don't believe home robotics.
First of all, home robotics already exists. It exists in many different forms. The sort of rolling around friend type robot thing that I think Bally is trying to figure out is it's that what is that robot that people want in their house? I don't think it exists yet. It's trying to, like you said, Roger, it's trying to fill a need that no one really asked
I mean,
for.
this
but whenever I hear that criticism of it's trying to fill a need no one asked for, I'm like, yes, most tech products do that at the beginning. Most tech products are like, ooh, we can do this. I wonder what it's good for. And then you make products, most of which don't fulfill a need anyone asked for, but one or two of which finally figure out, this is a thing we didn't know would be helpful. And smartphones are a great example of that. No one thought a touchscreen was going to be useful in a personal device until suddenly it was, and then it became huge.
I'm wondering if the home robot will be the home, like the ideal, like home, like the house or the living space itself through an integration of smart home devices becomes the one thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun to speculate, and it's fun to say this will never work, and then if nothing works, you'll be right. But no one really knows.
Yeah, we don't know.
That's the thing about being on this end of the technology. It's like it's easy to cast stones and be like, stupid robot. Nobody wants a rolling around robot. Makes you feel good about yourself, but you don't really know until suddenly there's a rolling robot that everybody's like, oh, that I never really thought about it doing that before. And until somebody thinks about it doing that and it works.
When I hand it my cup and say, fill this with Dr. Pepper Cherry Zero, and it does it, and then rolls off to do something else I asked it to. Now we're in business, like
isn't that why you have kids?
But also the idea of so I mentioned the Echo Show, which I love, and Apple's version of the Echo Show, something that's sort of an iPad that's supposed to be mounted somewhere that is your home hub that keeps getting it's rumored but is not with us yet. That whole idea is like, okay, well, where do I put it? So the idea of something that does that can also do other things, depending on where you are and what you need at the moment, is actually very exciting to me. I just don't. I don't know what that looks like exactly. I don't know if it's the Bali, but I think that could be something where we don't just have, like a TV, in every room type thing. We have something that can roam around and do a projection. Perhaps.
Joe pointing out that, Sarah, you didn't really see a use for VR until you got a Quest and then found a use because you were playing around.
Very true.
With it.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, 100%. I mean, I will eat my words for sure on that one because I was
With
just
salt.
like,
And we're even at a stage
wants
where
that?
you're accepting VR in its current stage for being very good at some of the stuff it's doing for you with the full knowledge
it's good
that
at
it's
certain
still
things. It's
Yeah,
not
you-
good at everything.
You're fully aware there's a future where it iterates and gets smaller and gets more useful. So that's really the hook,
Yeah.
right? Can something happen here that grabs us enough and gives us enough use case to go, oh yeah, this will be really interesting in like 6 versions. I'm going to buy the second one and see if it does this for me. And now it's invaluable.
Yeah.
And it's going to do, like that kind of feature upon
People
feature. that we
forget
do
how
with the phone.
useless the original iPhone was. It had no apps. Just the apps
nothing.
that came with it. You
Right.
couldn't add more apps to
Yeah.
it. It was the App Store that suddenly made it go like, ooh, I could use it for all kinds of things.
Yeah.
I also
Most things
feel
are
like
that.
I mean, I'm looking ahead a little too much maybe now, but the idea of like the robot that roams around, people are like, I don't know, you're gonna trip on it, or like your cat's gonna get scared. Like, what if the robot is on some sort of ceiling thing? I mean, there are so many ways
track
that
lighting.
this could work.
Then you'd have to, it would be a bigger install in that case because
Well,
you'd have to
yeah.
install tracks for it. Unless it could just like defy gravity
If
somehow.
it
or
could
magnets.
fly, that would
you'd
be
like
kind
lizards,
Of,
and
it
just,
could float. It could be like a balloon, like a mile.
well, that Amazon tried that one too. Remember, it had an indoor drone.
Blade Runner 2049 had that whole idea where it would like zip around on this track and then drop the
The future's
projection
a
right below
matrix.
it.
It's just gonna be plugged in, and the system will take care of us.
All right, I'm in. Let's do
The
it.
future is the Matrix. We're all just going to be imagining everything, but we're in little vats of goo.
But until then, robots named Bali. There you go.
Maybe we're there right now.
Maybe we are. Maybe
Give me
we
a
are.
steak dinner.
Well, we know all of you have thoughts on this. I can just feel the emails coming in right now. In that vein, let's check out the mailbag.
Yes, we had an anonymous tipster respond to our story about Zipline working with Walmart in Mesquite, Texas to make deliveries. We were speculating about what kinds of things they might be delivering. This anonymous emailer writes, "Can't share why I know this, but if a grocer sells ice cream, it'll probably be delivered by drone." Wink, wink. They didn't.
At first, I was like, why? And then I was like, probably because that keeps it cooler. More
Yeah.
Well,
easily?
time. Like the
time,
longer it's in the
sure.
truck, the more likely it is to melt, and a drone can get it there super fast, right? So before it even has a chance to melt, doesn't even matter how hot the day is, you might be able to get it to somebody's door, and then you're good.
Yeah, but also just long term, like a giant truck full of ice cream right now. There's a very immediate need for something like this, where larger drones are taking freight levels of ice cream somewhere quickly instead of
They have
having
to
it
be
stuck on the
refrigerated,
road.
right? They have to be yeah.
And refrigerated trucks are way more expensive to maintain for a 12-hour cross-country drive than doing something like that. So I think
But
all
you
the way
pack
from,
ice cream in a cooler type container on a drone, that'll keep more frozen than if you bought it at the grocery store and drove it home yourself.
yeah, like those ready-to-eat meals, man. Bring it to me cold, ready to go.
Yeah.
Look at the sponsorship opportunities. You could have like an ice cream chain, totally like, we're gonna sponsor this drone service for 1 week. Get your
Ice cream in the sky.
Oh, and they could drop in little parachutes for the kids. You
Well,
get little
that's
parachute ice
what
cream.
they're doing.
Yeah, remember yesterday's show when Sarah described that exact
Parachute
thing? Yeah.
ice cream.
Roger's like, what if
What if they delivered it by drone?
could
No,
lower
parachute.
the ice cream
no,
to
not
the
lower.
ground?
It's going to just drop it by parachute.
You're like, what if they just changed the business entirely and didn't deliver it by drone?
All right. Well, if you have ideas about how to keep ice cream cold or anything that we talked about on the show, and boy, we have run the gamut today, remember you can send in your comments to feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Scott Johnson, always a pleasure. Let folks know where they can keep up with your latest when you're not with us.
Well, there's probably some people out there that just really jive on daily content, like people that listen to this show. So if that's true and you're looking for a little morning show action where it's entertaining and fun and nerdy and all that stuff, We've been doing one on my network since 2011, and you can get it now every day, Monday through Thursday. Even more for patrons is over at frogpants.com/TMS. That's the morning stream, and you can catch it every Monday through Thursday. Watch it live as well. Go check it all out. frogpants.com/TMS.
Indeed. We also got lots of titles, huh? Yeah. During the show, people have been submitting title ideas at dtns.showbot.tv. We always like to review some of the ones, whether we use them or not, because we only use one of them. Happa Happiness leading the voting right now with PLZNTHX. Please and thanks.
Tom, it's please and thanks. Okay.
Please and thanks with as few. Yes, but I have to make sure they understand that in text, it won't have any of the vowels that you've come to expect.
Yep.
And not even some of the consonants. Kthxbai with no ABRV PLZ. No abbreviations, please.
Nice.
Stealth Dave with LOLM JK.
Nice. That's really good.
I like that.
Nintendo Remy DOUGH.
I like it. Yeah, good one.
ICU.
I like
Home Robotics.
GPIGS84's. Please reply to this message.
That's great.
Nick with a C. Home robotics exist in a vacuum. Get it?
Yep.
Like it.
Because they do.
There are so many good ones. Google Sphere Wizardry from Zoe Brings Bacon. Anyway, Sarah, what did we go with?
We went with Happinesses, please and thanks.
Please and thanks.
PLZNTHX.
Nice.
That was one of my greatest moments. Early in our dating relationship, we went to a movie and the THX thing came up, and I turned to Eileen and I said, "Thanks."
No,
And
that
she
was
like, marry me.
That had
She
to be
laughed,
a really.
and I'm like, "This is gonna work."
You're really lucky. That was a moment of no return either way, right? She's either staying with you or she's out of there after that joke.
That
Well,
that
and
the,
sometimes that's how you know who the one is, because if someone's like, please and thanks, what are you doing? And someone else is like, I get it. I get you.
What are you
Let's
I
get
see
married.
you. I see.
Please enjoy watching us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitch. And thanks to everybody who does, including the following folks on Twitch. Clancy317 just followed us 5 minutes ago. Welcome, Clancy317. Zoe Brings Bacon cheered us with some bits. ADH followed us. Technique gave us a shout out yesterday. I always like to acknowledge those. Thanks, everybody, for supporting us, however you do, including patreon.com/DTNS.
If you're a DTNS supporter, we'd love for you to show your support for us. We got good stuff at dailytechnewsshow.com/store. Pick up a mug, a t-shirt, a mouse pad. We've got our new DTNS Live logo on a lot of that stuff too, which is really fun. They're great ways to support us and the show, and a good conversation starter. If you're out and about and someone says, "What's that?" you can tell them about us. Please send us your pics of yourself in our t-shirts, using our mugs, using our mouse pad. Anything and all of them are appreciated.
Send us a photo of your mug using your mug.
Yeah. I like that.
Now hold on a second.
No, I'm gonna have
That's
to
a
leave you.
little crazy.
We can't date anymore after that dad joke. We're done. Sorry, Tom.
Well, it's okay.
You guys cannot date anymore.
We can no
You're
longer
broken up.
sit. We can't
Okay?
sit in the sphere anymore.
We
together.
can't hold hands at the sphere anymore.
What you can do is watch us live Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern at 2000 UTC, and you can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. Monday through Friday, we do it every day, and we'll be back doing it all again tomorrow. Talk to you then.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.